today I want to talk to you about how to choose a transaction coordinator. So in the business that we are in, you are extremely working with your buyers and your sellers and trying to put out fires, showing property, getting creative during this pandemic of how you work with your clients, basically on a virtual basis. So today I want to give you some tips on how to find that right transaction coordinator that should be implemented into your business immediately. So if you noticed in the previous video that I talked about how to choose the right assistant, or maybe what that assistant that you have needs to be doing for you. Well, transaction management is one that you can definitely have a transaction coordinator take over for you. So the reason why this is so important to you and your business is because you can get so caught up in the transaction side that you're losing business and you can't focus on that because you have so much to follow up on the transaction. So if you were to let that go and let another person handle it for you that you trust, this could be a beautiful relationship because it opens you up to be more focused on other areas of your business where somebody else is focused on what needs to get done in your business. So here's what I want you to kind of think about is, when you have a transaction, you should have a transaction checklist, and it should be very detailed, step by step of what happens during the process or during the transaction phase. From the minute that contract is executed, who's going to look at it for compliance? Who's going to send out the introductory email? Who's going to keep track of the dates? Who's going to be in touch with the home inspector, the title company, the lender, the other party? All the things that have to go on during that transaction should be delegated to the transaction coordinator. And during that process, she's keeping you updated, and you have, the way that we do it as when we work as a transaction coordinator for an agent is they have everything at their disposal. If they want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and see where we are on the transaction, they can go into the account, look at what's going on, and and be done, and have peace of mind and get back in the bed and go back to sleep now. So what we want to do is take that off your hands. It's Kim Hughes and Company, or it's someone that you have in your office, or whatever that may be. So some of the ways that you can find a good transaction coordinator would be, it's one, sit down with your broker. He may know someone, they may have someone in their office that's already doing this as a service for you. And then if they do that, then you want to have a conversation with her on what is her process. How does she manage multiple contracts at one time? That can be a challenge for some people because if they're overwhelmed with answering phones, answering questions from other agents in the office, and they have they're not just focused on the transaction, but they're doing multiple things, then you need to find out what that is and how dedicated can she be to your client and to you during that phase. So that's the first place you can look for a transaction coordinator. Maybe there's agents in the office that are just getting started and they're not where they want to be yet, but they're still eager to learn, and you would be a great person for them to learn from. You can bring them in as a transaction coordinator, so they can close those transactions for you, and then you can also be working with them and helping them be a good agent because they're following your processes. Now, this may not be a permanent situation, but it's at least one that can get you going in the right direction, and sometimes it can help you identify what you do look for in a transaction coordinator should this agent decide, to go in a different direction after a few months. So that's a good way to get somebody to come in and help you. They can learn from that, so it's a win-win for everybody involved. So look at that. Another one is talk to title companies, talk to your lenders. Maybe they know someone. I have a client that she really wanted to have an on-site transaction coordinator. So we really struggled trying to find her someone. But what we ended up doing was looking at her database and saying, who do you know in her database that maybe she has worked with as a buyer or as a seller, or maybe as just a neighbor that is looking for some part-time work, to work from home, and that could be a great situation as well, because it did work out very well for her that person came on as a part-time transaction coordinator. She ended up going and getting her license and then becoming an agent on my agent's team. And, you know, of course, they had to find another transaction coordinator, but it worked out. So everybody was helping each other out. And I think that's a beautiful thing. You know, if you can, you know, help somebody achieve their goal while you're achieving your own goal, that's just a win-win, right? You know, just a feel-good win-win. Okay. And then the other way that you can find a transaction coordinator is, you know, do a search. You know, just get on Google and put in real estate transaction coordinator and see what you come up with. You know, there's a lot more out there than there used to be. I think I was like maybe 2 or 3 of us around the country that did this. But because I've been doing it for over, you know, 20 years, you know, it's one of those things that's just natural. You know, if you want to have that conversation with us, we're happy to have that conversation, because we have a division that's solely dedicated to the transaction. So my transaction coordinators, that's all they do is work with you, the agent, and your client to get the transaction all the way to the closing table. But there are so many ways to do it. You know, we are just one way. So make sure you explore all your options and take note of what it is that you want. You know, maybe make a wish list. I wish I had A, B, and C of a transaction coordinator. Make sure that they are very detail oriented, because of course, as you know, that is part of the transaction. There's deadlines, dedication to that, making sure that they know how to stay on top of it. They know how to use the systems and the tools to make sure that everything gets done in an orderly fashion, but also by the deadlines. And then understanding the checklist and your CRM system and, you know, whatever other systems that you have involved in that transaction. So hopefully this will help you find the right one for you. But if you are at least closing 2 transactions a month, you should have a transaction coordinator. I mean, to me, I think a transaction coordinator is probably one of the biggest assets that you can have in your business, because they're going to help you free up your time so that you're not bogged down with all the paperwork. Let somebody else do that, you know, but make sure they're qualified and make sure that they know what they're doing when you hire them. So, so there you go. So if you like this video, we would love to see you give us a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe so that you'll always be notified when we put out a new one. And if you have any comments, any tips, or any questions, please put them in the comments below. We'll be happy to answer anything. And then we also want to invite you over to our Facebook group, the Real Estate Success Tools. We are a private Facebook group just dedicated to real estate agents and helping them build their business with the tools that we give them. So we hope to see you over there, and you day. Bye.